Let's talk about Tai Chi. Today, most people know about Tai Chi as a health practice, but its roots are as a martial art, a self-defense based martial art that comes with a whole training methodology and history that's there encapsulated within the forms, within the lineages, within the practices that are handed down. Now, some of the principles that are shared by all Tai Chi systems are those methods that are connected to how it was trained as a martial art. And that can be encapsulated in the idea of the 4 energies of Tai Chi, because this is something that's shared by all Tai Chi systems, is these 4 energies and how we train them. The energies are Peng, Lu, Ji, An. This is the Chinese, and I like to start with the Chinese because we have to remember that we're working from the Chinese language, the Chinese culture, and the history that all of this stuff is contained within. So we don't necessarily just want a direct translation. We want it as a starting point to build our understanding of these concepts. So a good starting point for understanding what these energies represent is to let's think of how water might work within, let's say, like a bathtub or a swimming pool. And we can represent that here with our arms. So the first one, Peng, is expand out, like this. Up and out, like we have in our first movement. It's also here in this one. Now, Peng, this idea of expansion, like water filling up a bathtub or filling up a big vase, it's going to spread out evenly and define that shape, right? It's going to make it stronger and make it feel more full. So when we come into positions like this in Tai Chi, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for this sense of fullness, this sense of Peng that spreads out within our shape, okay? And then after that, we have Lu, Ji, and An. Now you could say that almost every energy that we do in Tai Chi is filtered through this idea of Peng that we are creating. And that is one of the first steps in training Tai Chi, is how do we develop that idea of Peng. And we'll probably go over that in another video where we look at how we can take something like pushing, which we all know how to do, and begin to train that into a strong ward-off Peng movement. But for the 4 main energies, it all starts with Peng, and then we look and see how does Lu, Ji, and An relate to that. So if we have expanding up into a space, then very logically it's physics. We have contracting or receding away and back to where it came from, back to center. So if we have water filling up a bathtub and water going down the drain, Peng, Lu, it's going to create a flow back and forth, right? After that, we have Ji. Now, Ji is a forward press. So imagine all of that expansive energy that's going out, filling up in 360 degrees, now being focused into a nozzle, like a hose, and being directed on a straight line through that point. That's Ji. And then last is An. An's an interesting one. It's a little bit more subtle within the movements of the body, but still felt very strongly. An is like a water displacement. The energy goes down one side to lift the other, but the sense is pressing down from that side, pressing down to create lift. Imagine an avalanche going into the water. What that would create, it would create a depression down that sends energy out and up, creating it like a tsunami wave. That's An. That's why in the form we have Peng, Lu, Ji, An, like that. And pretty much every style of Tai Chi is going to have a movement, grasping sparrow's tail, that represents this. All 4 of those movements put in unison, right? Put one after the other. But those movements, Peng, Lu, Ji, An, should be there present in any move that you do. In Parting Wild Horse's mane, we have Peng. Here, in brush knee, Ji. In our basic push, An, to create that connection down to get the energy moving forward. And there's our 4 main energies, Peng, Lu, Ji, An. Like I said, it's physics. In Tai Chi, we are looking at how we are using the body to move things, move big things like people, right? It's a self-defense based martial art that deals mainly with grappling, wrestling type movements, not striking. So the distance that we're working with to protect ourselves is very close. And so we try to stay really strong, ward off, pull, press, push down within that space. Now, besides the four main energies, we have our four supplemental energies. That's Sai Liei Jiu Kao. And this is, if you're studying for a long time, then you can create a lot of depth, a lot of layers, a lot of variation within your practice. I mean, that's the study. You can study Tai Chi for decades. I mean, people have been studying it for hundreds, thousands of years. So there's a lot of information there to chew on. But it starts with very simple, very logical concepts, these four main energies, which starts with first Peng, this idea of expanding out. And then Lu, contracting, drawing in. Ji, pressing on, pressing or pushing. It's the limitations of how we translate this sometimes that can impede how we understand these movements. So don't get stuck in those English translations. Remember, we're pulling this out of a different language, out of a different time, out of a different culture. Oftentimes more important is the lessons you learn directly from your teacher, how they're pressing this to you physically, how you're getting this transmitted to you within your day-to-day practice, because there are so many different variations of these movements because we're expressing an intention and a sensory feeling that we're looking for, that once we can feel it, we can learn to cultivate it and reinforce it just to make it stronger. So those are the four main energies of Tai Chi. In the next video, we're going to talk about how we begin to train those using our simple connection to how we push things and how this is really embedded within Tai Chi training and just Kung Fu training in general.